What is going on, everybody? I hope you're all having a wonderful evening. We got a big game tomorrow for the Buffalo Bills as they go down to Miami to play the Miami Dolphins. So we got to have a big Saturday night tailgate show. You already know what it is. My man Muki Hawkins from Woohoo Sports. Muki, how you doing tonight?
Oh man, what's good, man? It's Saturday Night Live. You know what I mean? We got a great special guest, in the building. You know what I mean? It is Squish the Fish week, so quite rightfully so. You know what I mean? I'm real excited. Football finally could, we got something to watch every week, you know what I mean? So I'm excited about Sunday, man. I feel like a kid.
Hey, let's not forget about our just a special guest, Mario Granata from Hashtag Sports. Mario, thank you for joining us for the second consecutive week. I was on Hashtag Sports on the YouTube channel. Shout out to Hashtag Nation. Mario, thank you for joining us again this week.
Hey, no problem, Clayton. Me and Muki got some unsettled business, as we'll probably find out a little bit later. But always good to be here on the tailgate. I had a blast last week. I'm glad you were able to come on Hashtag and join the nation for the preview for the Miami Dolphins. It's gonna be an interesting one this weekend. I got a feeling.
Yeah. And our third guest, he is a full-time beat reporter for the South Florida Sun Sentinel for the Miami Dolphins. Omar Kelly. Omar, thank you for joining the show, and thank you for giving us some of your time tonight.
No problem, gentlemen. Happy to be here.
Hey, so let's get right into it. I think the biggest piece of news, at least the freshest piece of news going into this big game this Sunday is the absence of Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano for the linebacking core. Omar, starting with you, I want to hear how you feel this may open up some advantages for the Dolphins offense.
Well, I really don't think the Dolphins have that many advantages when it comes to this matchup against the Bills. I think the Bills are a more experienced team, a little bit superior from a talent standpoint, but this serves as kind of an equalizer right now. If you think about it, I'm attacking the middle of their defense all game, running with the tight ends. I'm trying to power up. I'm trying to run inside zones. I think if Jordan Howard is healthy, this is going to be a good game and a good opportunity for him to show what he can do, considering you guys probably only got like 2 healthy linebackers.
2 healthy linebackers.
Play linebacker? I'm sure you're probably going to activate some guys off the practice squad and probably put them into the game. But, yeah, this is one hell of a week to lose all your linebackers.
Man. That's the intriguing thing to see. Like, what is their game plan tomorrow? You know what I mean? In reference to losing your 2 starting linebackers. That's been major cogs for 3 years. You know what I mean? So it's like AJ Klein – didn't show me enough, in spot duty last week, especially in coverage. So, I just want to see what's the game plan defensively, tomorrow.
He's probably going to have a much bigger role and try to turn into an every down linebacker. It's going to be interesting to see the game plan. I wrote a column this week in the Sun Sentinel talking about, for me, this is – I was not impressed by 5 wins last season. I wasn't impressed by their turnaround. I really didn't give 2 hoots about any of that because you were intended to lose so you can get to it. Well, you got to it now. What I want to see from Brian Flores, I want to see him prove that he can create favorable game plans, X's and O's, and create game-winning strategy, halftime adjustments that could lead to victories. And that's not necessarily something that I think he proved in his last season. What I felt last season showed was that Ryan Fitzpatrick can do enough to win 5 games for his team, no matter who his team is. And the Dolphins just really, got over on the fact that they had a veteran quarterback that put the team in position to win games. I didn't feel like it was game planning and adjustments and good strategy. And good coaches' decisions, but we'll see this season.
Now, Mario, I want to know how you are feeling about the injuries to Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano. Do you think this is going to open up the rushing attack for the Dolphins, or do you feel like that whoever they put in there, whether it's Terrell Dotson, AJ Klein, what have you, do you feel like they'll get the job done and be good enough to maintain the Dolphins rushing attack?
Well, my initial thought about it was that Dotson and Dotson and Klein would be good enough to be band-aids for you for a couple of weeks and try to see. I mean, this is the reason why you got AJ Klein and there's like a contingency plan, like in case of emergency, break glass. Well, the glass is broken now. And the thing about it that I take from it is the Dolphins' game plan going into the week, if the Bills had had Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano, what was their game plan? What would you say is the weakest part of this Buffalo Bills defense to attack? And then how fast could they adjust their game plan, knowing that Edmonds and Milano are going to be out? So I expect, we saw a little bit of this at the end of the 2018 season when Matt Milano went out. Poyer was kind of dropping down in the box and playing that role of Matt Milano, and I could see them doing that again. Maybe bringing in Dean Marlowe to play too high with Micah Hyde back there, and you put Poyer down there. Maybe you put Klein in the middle. And this defense is not shy about having their linebackers play 100% of the snaps, like majority of the times that Milano and Edmonds did last year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do with their linebackers and who they bring in to possibly fill that void of not having the athleticism that you lose with Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano both leaving the field. Because let's not make a mistake about it. Those two are two of the best athletes, not only on the Bills defense, but possibly on the entire team, considering specifically Tremaine Edmonds. You talk about how athletic he is at the size that he plays at and just how big of a piece he is to that Bills defense. I feel like against the Dolphins, you're not going to, I wouldn't say miss Tremaine Edmonds, but I would more or less you'd see the drop off from Tremaine Edmonds to whoever it may be, whether it's AJ Klein, whether it's Terrell Dodson, whether it's even Deion Lacey or Delshon Phillips is also out of this game because he went down last week. I forget what the injury was. But Muki, Mario kind of alluded to it, bringing a third safety onto the field, bringing Poyer down closer to the box to possibly have that presence with your safety. Do you feel like that's possibly a role we might see them use Saran Neal in and keep your two safeties back with Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer? Or do you feel like more along the lines of Mario where they're going to bring Poyer up closer to the box and leave Micah Hyde back there with Dean Marlowe?
Well, it really depends on the personnel. Like if Miami comes out, say 11 personnel, then you're going to see a base package with two linebackers, but then you're going to see that nickel back, which is Teron, and you got your safeties in Poyer and Micah Hyde. But if they go with two tight end setup, then what's the lineup? Do you go big? You got to match strength for strength. You can't be outmanned. You're already undersized and thin at your linebacker position. So I want to see. That's the biggest question mark right now. In reference to how the Bills are going to put this rotation together tomorrow, and who's going to be those guys out there in those specific situations. So I don't want to jump on my tree and say I know, but. You got these late additions to the roster, Deion Lacey, Andre Smith basically was, there towards the end of training camp. So he has some inkling and notion of that defense. And, Lacey was, he basically was on the squad last year. So he has some familiarity. But once again, it's week 2. These guys have had no OTAs. These guys have had no preseason. And, it's a lot of rust across the NFL right now. We saw it in Tremaine Edmonds missing that tackle, and actually getting hurt because, how Coach McDermott all stressed, lack of fundamentals, at the wrongest of times. And that was clearly evident right then and there with Tremaine. So, it's going to be real exciting to see, you figure the Bills invested this year in their defensive line and, they invested in offense. Now it's time for us to, it's time for the offense to put the team on its shoulders this time. The defense been carrying this team for the past 3 years. They invested in the offense. Now it's time to see their money's worth tomorrow.
Now, Omar, last week we had a guest on the show who was also a beat reporter for a fellow AFC East team. And I always find it interesting to hear exterior opinions from fellow beat reporters and what they think about what the teams in the team that they cover's division is doing. Now, I want to know specifically how you feel about what the Bills have done, not just in this past offseason, but throughout the last 3 years since they flipped the script and hired Sean McDermott, hired Brandon Beane, and really started to get this process going. And I don't mean to use the word process, but quite literally as they use the word process. Because to be quite honest, I feel like there's a lot of parallels to be drawn from what the Bills did back in 2017 to what the Miami Dolphins are doing now with Brian Flores. I really want to hear what your thoughts are on this regime and what they have done to elevate not only the how the Bills are viewed locally, but also nationally?
I I know a lot of the individuals that are running organization there. A lot of them come from the Miami Dolphins, right? Or I've known them throughout the league. So I got a lot of respect for that front office. I think they've done a good job in terms of adding athletes with the right makeup. I think the trade of Stephon Diggs is one of my favorite players in the league. I think that they did a phenomenal job acquiring him. If you can get a proven playmaker like Stephon Diggs for a first-round pick, you do it. Um, I like just about every move. However, do fundamentally believe that Josh Allen, until he fixes those accuracy issues, he's going to be an issue, and you can only take a team so far. So he's not the quarterback that I would build around. Is he better than Josh Rosen? Absolutely. Is he better than Sam Darnold? No question about it. But I need him to fix some of those accuracy issues. And I know he had a phenomenal game in the first game of the season, but it'll be interesting to see if teams can continue to force him out of the pocket and have him throw on the run, which is when I think the accuracy issues start to flare up.
I don't know about that. I think he's a little bit more better accurate. I think he's a little bit more comfortable throwing on the run, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I think
I can see that because we had that same thought about Ryan Tannehill. And now that I think about it, Josh Allen isn't really a pocket quarterback. So maybe if you put him on the move, he's more comfortable, especially if he's cutting the field in half and you're giving him either or reads. With that arm, I probably don't want him running. Because he could do so much damage from a leg standpoint. So where do the accuracy issues flare up? I mean, I think he's accurate when he red zone. He's grown a lot. I'm curious. Let me just put it this way. I'm curious to see. He's grown from his rookie season to his second season, and he definitely started out great this season. And I'm curious if that was the aberration or if that's becoming the norm.
Yeah, I think it's now more or less more pocket awareness and making sure he don't overstride when when you got to go your progressions and flip your hips and stuff like that. He's a big kid, you know what I mean? He's 6'5", 250. So, all that stuff, especially in your feet, you know what I mean? That's where it's at, really, in your feet. That's where your accuracy comes from.
Yeah.
So, he has to really just correct that. Once he clean that stuff up, I mean, he'll be fine. I mean, the steps of progress is better than anyone in that draft except for Lamar Jackson. So, that's worth the wait, with the patience with that, But I just hope, like you said, he got to avoid taking those type of hits. He got to know, and then he got to know how to run him too. Keep him on draws, keep him on delays, keep him something that's going to have him keep going forward. Don't have him running 18s and 17 sweeps like his little league. He's too slow to get around the edge like that. Keep him going forward, and that's when you'll see a better running Josh Allen. So
do you want to see a better running Josh Allen though? We always have these questions and issues, and certainly the Dolphins struggled with Cam Newton, and everybody's sitting there saying, "Oh, Cam Newton's got to evolve as a quarterback." Well, we're 10 years in, he's still running. Do you envision Josh Allen being a running quarterback forever, a scrambling quarterback? He's not really a runner. He's more of a scrambler, can make things happen. Do you think he needs to evolve, or are you fine with the way that he plays 10 years from now?
No, he needs to evolve. And, right now, basically, this is something that if this is what I've been doing since Little League, since United Youth Football days, and I'm in the NFL now, that them habits are hard to, slip away. So you got to gradually get out of that. He got to mature out of that. It's a maturation process. Sometimes it just clicks, This year, so far, so good. The past games that, that really even count, even in the scrimmage that they had, he had similar stat lines. So if he could duplicate another 300-yard day and, complete 70% of his passes against the Miami Dolphins, who basically didn't get that type of work in New England because New England was more or less double tight end, running with the quarterback, really wasn't trying to throw too much. They're going to get a lot of work. That secondary is going to get a lot of work tomorrow.
And trust me, I'm a fan of all three of Buffalo's receivers. I would argue to you that Buffalo has a top 3 receiving unit in the NFL. And my issue is, while the Dolphins do have 2 of the high-paid cornerbacks in the NFL, they're both injured. They're both coming off a game where they were rarely ever tested. And that was partly because of what New England had going on from a talent standpoint at wide receiver. What happens when they do test them? And that's why this game will be a very interesting game for me, because I'll get to gauge and assess a lot of things. Can Miami fix their issues with scrambling quarterbacks? Are Byron Jones and Xavier Howard playing at an elite level to contain an elite receiving core? The slot receivers position. I hate Miami's nickel situation. I think that they need to go another route other than starting Jamal Perry. And will that be exposed this week? So this is a real litmus test. And think about it. The winner in my mind, Buffalo can take the lead in the AFC East. Fine. Miami can put themselves in the mix with a win, but a loss, you're playing catch up probably the rest of the season.
Yeah, and then what's the status on the cornerback that Miami drafted in the first round? You figured that he would be more prone to play that slot spot. How
he's working on the boundary, and I think that's they envision Noah eventually, maybe possibly being an inside guy, but right now they want him to get comfortable playing inside, playing in the boundary, and because of the injury to both the other cornerbacks. Yeah. At some point, one of those guys, as you know, the nature of the NFL, and I always say this to fans, you'll lose a player for the season every other game. So if you didn't lose any this week, you'll lose somebody next week. And I think Miami knows they're only biding time before something happens to Xavier Howard or Byron Jones, and they have to be set down for a little while. So I think they're grooming Noah to continue to work on that boundary. I mentioned this to Eric Rowe, the safety, strong safety. He was kind of dislodged by Brandon Jones, who played most of the strong safety snaps, and Eric was really covering the tight ends. And I think it's a seamless transition to have him go from covering the tight ends to also covering the slot receiver. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, Rowe's a former guy that Flores worked with up in New England, so that's why he has the knowledge of the type of defensive set or philosophy or scheme that he wants to run. But going back to the previous point about Josh Allen, I would notice a lot, because you're talking about his mechanics. A lot of times, Muki even said it. You play youth football, you come up. He really, a lot of times, either he didn't set his feet or he had a really wide base when he was in college. And I argue to say that he was one of the least polished guys coming out of college in that draft. But I think what the Buffalo Bills saw in Josh Allen was that the one rare quality that he has, he's a top 5, I would even venture to say top 3 guy. And you got to cover 110 by 53 when this kid is anywhere on the field. Mm-hmm. So that aside from a good line, aside from a tight end, aside from a good running game, that fact that he can hit anywhere on the field, possibly wherever he is, it opens up the offense and offensive in the zones so much more than anything else. Because if you got Josh Rosen rolling out to his right, you're not even going to care about the backside. Allen could roll to his right and throw a 70-yard bomb across the field. So the fact that no, you're not supposed to. But what I'm saying is, because he has the arm to that backside safety can't fly over the hash and come on that side. So I think the fact that he has that arm, and the other fact is this, and Paul and I have talked about this quite a bit. Allen has the arm that if he's developing through an offense, which he, like I said, he was one of the least polished guys coming out, he can still make a read late and get the ball there, which unfortunately we saw with Diggs quite a bit, and Diggs taking a couple pops last week. So Muki even said it. He's evolving. He has to evolve, and the more that he plays in this offense, the more he plays with high talent that he has, that he's never had before. I mean, he played at Wyoming. I mean, how many guys get drafted out of Wyoming, for crying out loud? So, all that being said, he's gonna naturally progress, and I think he's not there yet, but he's gonna get there.
I will say this: I've showered him with hate from the very minute he was at the Senior Bowl. Just did not believe that he could fix what his issues were. Mm-hmm. And he's growing up, he's maturing, he's developing. And And trust me, I've covered Dolphins teams where you don't watch a quarterback grow up and develop. You're watching him grow up and develop, and it's quite scary, to be honest with you, because if he can fix I have this theory that he will always be an inaccurate quarterback. There will always be 8 shots that he just misses just because his footwork wasn't set right.
Mm-hmm.
But if this guy can beat you with the 20 other passes that do not, go off the rails. Yeah, you're right. It is kind of scary, and it's kind of dangerous to think that, hey, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the AFC East, and I do believe that.
And the crazy part about it is, only thing we talk about from the Jets game is the bad things that he did, the 2 fumbles, the missing John Brown in the end zone, and a couple other misses, but he still threw for 70%. He still threw for 300 yards. He outrushed a lot of number 1 running backs in the NFL.
That's 17 years of baggage, Muki. That's not Allen. That's 17 years of baggage of seeing inaccurate quarterbacks and whatnot.
But you gotta understand,
it's important to raise the bar and not have these mediocre standards for your quarterback. And trust me, I've covered a team for a decade that had mediocre standards for their quarterback. But yeah, I think it's encouraging for you to raise the bar, but I think it's also irresponsible for Buffalo fans to nitpick and not notice the improvements that he made. Because when I saw that 72% completion, I was like, Josh Allen? And yeah, he's got some hella weapons, but that's good for Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's good. But you got to understand the development coming out of college. The only thing that everybody talked about was the big cannon arm he has. He was inaccurate, short to intermediate. So what do? They bring in Smoke and Beasley, guys that's gonna help him underneath as that receiver. And you've seen a good job by Ken Dorsey, making sure that he was accurate. You've seen Sunday he was firing those things in some tight windows on the run. So that's where you see the improvements. Now, blow the dust off the big cannon, and let's hit Diggs deep now. So it's time to get that run game going, so we can set up some true run action, isolate, and let's see, 1-on-1, who's mano-a-mano, receiver, cornerback, who's the better man.
Yeah, do you want to really test? I mean, I would, because I want to see whether they're healthy or not. Because I watched Xavier in the fir's game. Xavier is a dynamic talent and a dynamic cornerback. I would argue he's top 5 in the league when he's healthy. Now the problem is he's rarely ever healthy. Byron Jones, he all right. But I would like, if I was Buffalo, I'd test you early, see what's up, and maybe dial it back if it's good. If I don't like what I see, but New England didn't even test him, and I found that very interesting.
Right, and he's getting paid $15 million, so I'm already knowing he over there dolo by himself. So I like those odds right now. Steph Diggs, Xavier Howard, 1-on-1. Let's get it. That's all I want to see. Let's get the people what they want to see. Okay,
Miami's in a position where they're not shadowing cornerbacks. They've got 2 $15-16 million receivers. Cornerbacks. Out there on the field, so they're not shadowing receivers. Wherever Stephon, and I'm a huge Stephon fan. Let me tell you the Stephon Diggs story, okay? This is back in 2014. I annually go out to Pete Bomarito's performance to watch draft prospects train for the draft, and so I go out there primarily to see Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker's this first-round guy. He's got all the hype. And I'm sitting down talking to the guys, and they don't know who I am. I generally like for them to not know who I am. So Stephon Diggs, who's got this big, larger-than-life personality, comes up and he's like, yo, who are you? And I told him who I was. He was like, who you here to see? I said, I'm here to see Devontae Parker. Oh, you here to see Devontae? Okay, I'm Stephon Diggs. Watch me. This man went out during these practices, during this training session, and he literally did everything Devontae did and did it better. And I walked away from that practice, that workout, and I was just like, who the hell is this guy? And this kid. And from that day, and literally I tweeted out, who the hell is Stephon Diggs? Like, And why is nobody talking about him? Because he was ridiculous. And I'm not surprised that he's had the career that he's had. I'm not surprised that, he's to me, arguably a top 5 receiver in the league. He just doesn't get the praise or the recognition for it.
Right.
Now, we were before you brought on that story about Stephon Diggs, and I love that. Thank you for telling us that. That was awesome. But before we were talking about Josh Allen
and
his
talking
ability.
trash during the workout too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He barks.
And I love alphas like that. Love.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's one of the things I loved about them bringing Diggs to Buffalo is because that kind of mentality, that kind of dog mentality, that attitude that I feel is necessitated if you're going to be a championship football team. If you're going to win a Super Bowl, you're not winning a Super Bowl with
meat team guys.
Right. Just those kind of guys. You need those guys that have that kind of mentality, have that chip on their shoulders, no matter what occurs throughout the course of a game. Now, Omar, you were kind of talking about Josh Allen and his abilities and his his skill set and how him as a runner really helps him out as an athlete and a quarterback, getting on the move, out of the pocket. And coincidentally enough, Josh Allen, he typically has had his best performances throughout his career against your very Dolphins. And we were talking about, huh?
You gonna bring that up right now, right here?
I guess so. But we were talking about 70-yard passes across the field, right? And hey, let's not forget. We are a Chuck Clay drop in the end zone from Josh Allen being 4-0 against the Dolphins.
He should be undefeated against the Dolphins. No
he
lie.
Should be.
I'm not going to throw shade and hate on him.
Now,
nobody has eaten him up. And I wrote about this as well. Like, Dolphin fans think this is a rivalry. There is no rivalry. Buffalo has whooped their tails for like nearly a decade now. And since Josh Allen's gotten there, Miami has one lucky win over Josh Allen. So you got to give him the respect that he's due. Like, nobody has beaten them up like Josh Allen has. Look, now Lamar Jackson did it pretty good too, but that was only one game. Josh Allen does it twice a year.
Right. Now, talking about how Josh Allen has really just had nothing but success against the Dolphins, it seems. I feel like now with Flores in place, he made a lot of moves this offseason to try and get the pieces in place on that defense that he really wants. Kyle Van Noy, former Bills defensive end Shaq Lawson, Jerome Baker, he's a beast in the middle. We talked about Byron Jones being paid $15 million per season.
Let's not call Jerome Baker a beast. That's a
you don't think so?
Tackle, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. Now he had to. Now I'm disrespecting, man. He's coming off his greatest game ever. But come on, let's not put beast in there. Like,
I have always been a fan of Jerome Baker ever since he was coming out of college. So I just had to say it. Do you think with the pieces in place that Flores has on that side of the ball now, having a far more, I'd say, ideal situation going against a quarterback like Josh Allen, do you think that's going to slow Allen up a little bit, or do you think he's slaying up the Dolphins all day like he has the last 3 years?
To me, this game comes down to coaching, because if I'm Buffalo, I'm going to look at New England's playbook and be like, okay, they did that. They got that kind of success. Let's just do it too. And it's going to come down to whether or not Miami can stop it. Miami can physically stop it. And I don't believe they can. I don't believe they have a linebacker who could spy a quarterback. I don't believe they've got a nickel who can stick with Cole Beasley. I really, I'm curious to see what happens. Those are 2 good receivers. Buffalo has 2 very good receivers. So you're going to have to play an honest defense because those safeties aren't creeping down and helping out. So and then you got to account for Josh Allen running and scrambling. So it's a very bad matchup for Miami. Now, offensively, you better hope that Ryan Fitzpatrick gets his act together and can put some points up, because the only way you can beat Buffalo is you're going to have to outscore them, because they're going to score points. And if you can't score 21 points, you're not going to give yourself a chance.
And that's the crazy thing you just mentioned, but the Bills scoring points, and so now we know the culture has absolutely changed when then people was recognizing that, hey, the Bills, and scoring points. And they score them in bunches, but in that third quarter to come out at halftime, they came out flat. It's kind of like they was in their own way. They didn't keep their foot on the gas. So hopefully they can get off to a good start again, and which I think they're going to open up in 10 personnel again, and really test these guys, see where the conditioning is. If they going no huddle, fast-paced tempo, you got the quarterback running, and you got Stephon Diggs and these guys running all over the place. You test to see where the condition is. It is Miami. Is a different type of heat down there.
You ain't ready for that.
Right.
I don't know if you want to go no huddle with Miami now.
Hey, you got to test and see where people are with it. You know what I mean? Spread it out.
The biggest complaint that you get from players who come down here and play a game, they were like, fourth quarter, man, we was out of gas. and I can tell you, if you want to play no huddle with Miami, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage because you're not going to out stamina them in that heat and humidity. Yeah, you're gonna have IVs by third quarter. That's what you have.
I got a question for Omar. I mean, given the analysis that you gave about the Miami Dolphins defense, the corners are banged up. You got a 215-pound Baker in the middle that just roams all over the field. You're kind of saying, even though with all the shiny new toys that Clayton mentioned, with Lawson and Van Noy that came to this defense, it still seems like I'm getting the feeling from you that they're a little bit outmanned. But let me just ask you, this will lead to my question. What is the likelihood that Flores, because when you're outmanned, you got to devise other ways to try to get to the quarterback and stop the run and do all those different things. Blitzing, twists up front, stunts, odd man pressures, all that other stuff. What is the likelihood that even though they're banged up, Flores is coming into this game and telling his defensive coordinator, listen, okay, Diggs and Brown are going to be Howard and Jones's problem. We're going to play 9-on-9 and see if they can beat us with their other 9.
I really think that depends. In the ideal world, if both of them were healthy, that's how you want to play the entire season.
Yeah, okay.
They're not healthy, and that would be putting yourself at a disadvantage. And I know those are your highest paid players, and that's how you want to play. But do you really want to expose 2 injured players? If you're thinking strategically as a coach, am I saying put the pressure on everybody else or expose 2 injured players that should be very good? And I don't know which way that I would go, but I can tell you right now, based on what I've seen, I'm not ready to put them one-on-one on Stephon Diggs and Jerome Brown and say, hey, go win the game for me. That's just not the route that I would want to go. That's just me.
Gotcha.
Now,
yeah, I didn't realize the injuries that they were coming into the game with. I know how banged up they were, obviously. So
yeah, Achilles and the knee.
Xavier Howard's got a knee that's, I think, 10 months from surgically repaired. He looks okay. He doesn't look like himself. And then Byron Jones, I'm sure he's going to get better. They always say, it was better when I was 16 months into the recovery. And then Byron Jones has got an Achilles injury that I'm sure is sore. But it made him look like poo all training camp. I was like, is this your $16 million quarterback? Like that don't look like a $16 million quarterback.
No, I don't love Deion Sanders over there.
We got one of those too, so that's all right.
oh wow. Isn't he hurt?
No, he's not hurt, but we got a cornerback that's making a few bucks now, so.
What are you talking about? Josh Norman?
No, I'm talking about Trey. He got his extension.
On,
so
man, that's a baller right there. That's a baller.
Oh yeah.
Worth every penny.
And listen, every fan base looks at the other teams like top players, and they're like, man, that's something special right there. And then the fan base is like, man, he ain't worth all that money. Like, yeah, if you wanted to give it to somebody, was gonna give it to him. And that's the same situation. Did you want to be like Dallas and let Byron Jones walk?
Nah.
Yeah. So I mean, on the flip side, we talk about this defense offensively. I'm quite sure that everybody want to know, you got 2 in the building. Like, what's that timetable, man? What do you feel when is he ready to take over at some point this season? Or
season, yeah, probably he needs. I would say if they had training camp, if they had an OTA's off-season program, I would think that Tua would probably be a month away from starting. Talent is there, accuracy is there, pocket presence is there. Health-wise, I'm not 100% certain where he is, but right now he's not ready. He just doesn't have a good grasp of the offense. He doesn't have a good mastery of the defense. The language of the offense is a little challenging, and you're going to have to go in there with 1/3 of your playbook to make it through games. Could he start games and give your team a chance? Yeah. What does he provide you the best opportunity to win the game? No. But I do see him starting at some point in late October, November, especially if Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't delivering wins. You just got to give him time to get acclimated in the offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a point that you brought up earlier too, Omar, is the fact that if the Bills win this game, you're 0-2, but you're also 0-2 in the division. So that puts out a nice plate for Tua to be like, okay, this is the season where you're going to get groomed. And people want to make fun about Ryan Fitzpatrick in Buffalo, and he's playing for 17 teams in the NFL right now at this point. But the point is, the guy's 38 years old and he's still playing in the NFL. Probably one of the most cerebral quarterbacks that ever laced him up.
Slip up, you'll catch on a bad day, and you're kicking that ass.
Yeah, but here's the thing that he does really well, and I saw this in Buffalo. I saw this in Buffalo firsthand when he was there. The line wasn't where they should be in Buffalo, and for many years when Fitz was there, when he was in, it was him and Eric Wood adjusting protection, sliding guys over, picking up blitzes. When you blitz Fitzpatrick, you give him the answers to the test, and I don't know why people do that, but and I know the guy needs a crow's hop to hit a 15-yard out. But
because that's a true insider who actually knows and watches and pays attention to the game. Because literally, if you blitz Fitzpatrick, you're just asking to get your ass handed to you. like, you should just sit back and say, "All right, beat me."
But that's the thing, though. Like, that's who Tua is in the room with every day, and that you can't replace that type of tutelage. Even if he's not directly teaching Tua, he's watching what Fitz is doing, sliding guys around, getting guys moving, and that's going to only help with his development.
And it helps that Tua and Fitz have the approach. I mean, our first press conference with Fitz was, I know I'm just the placeholder for Tua. I'm getting him ready. Y'all can stop all these,
right.
All these questions. Like, yes, I'm babysitting the job for him. Like, let's I know what my role is. And
right.
I think that's so mature for a guy. But think about it. He's in his 16th year in the league. He's been through everything. He's playing not for the money, but because he loves the game and loves to be around it. And his kids are of the age where they're actually aware of, hey, my dad's pretty damn cool. And he likes to keep that run going. Like, he's a starting quarterback for an NFL team, and he wants to continue to be the cool dad. And I respect that. I got an 18-year-old. I respect that. Like, I know you get to a point where your kids don't want nothing to do with you no more. So his kids are at the age where, like, he's pretty good. He's pretty cool, and he's trying to milk every second of it.
That's awesome.
You got to do that. Now, one thing I can say, Fitzpatrick definitely owed T.O. some money, because if it wasn't for T.O., he wouldn't, probably still be out here with this Iron rifle. Out here, I mean, if it was Terrell Owens and Josh Reed who went to Chan Gailey and say, "Get Trent out of there. This guy is holding the damn ball," and then Fitzpatrick come right in. He's just letting that thing go and throwing it to T.O. and T.O. out there making plays. So that's, and the rest is history. Fitzpatrick, a 7th-round draft pick from out of Cincinnati from Princeton. Still in the league to this day, still getting the back. We the first one that gave him $60 million. He made more money than Jim Kelly. Right? You know what I mean? So, and he continued to carry that bag. So, man, hey, shout out to Fitzpatrick, man, and shout out to you too, Big O, man, for joining us, man. Your tutelage in this game, man, since '97, man, is just impeccable, man. So we respect everything you do. You know what I mean? And we appreciate you coming on, man. Hey, CG, what else we got for my man, Big O?
I mean, hey, that was pretty much it. I think we pretty much covered all our bases in the 42 minutes he's been on our show. Omar, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for giving us a solid insight on the Dolphins. I always love talking to beat reporters for the divisional rivals like I talked about earlier. I know Muki told you 15, 20 minutes, but hey, once we get talking football, you get talking football. I love doing it. I'd love to have you.
Enjoy it because there aren't that many people, especially guys doing podcasts or live streams, that can actually talk technical football. And that, that I respect those people. So shout out to you guys because it's, talking strategy and terminology and technical aspects and how to attack, the secondary and how to cover Josh Allen. What do you want to force him into doing? That's lost in fantasy football land or bet land. I still love the sheer beauty of football and strategy. I love that stuff. Like I don't need fantasy. I enjoy the strategy of it. And this is probably my favorite game of the season. I mean, I know I'm talking. It's week 2, but I honestly need to know if Brian Flores can coach, and the Buffalo Bills will teach me that.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, Big O, what's your prediction? Can we get a score?
Yeah, I predicted Buffalo's going to win 21-17. Now, unless they wilt in the heat and humidity, like your strategy, you want to go no hurry. Okay, all right. You just digging your grave. You want to know hurry.
Get them out of here.
Yeah, you're gonna be out of gas by the third quarter around here. No hurry.
Well, hey, we got
it all muddy and humid too.
We got 2 Florida boys in that backfield, Zach Moss and Motor Singletary, so they know how to run in that heat. They know how to run in that heat. So we got 2 Florida boys in that backfield. They don't mind.
He like out.
Right there.
Did he? Oh boy, you got stale screen. Oh yikes! All right,
He froze up. All right,
that
was
for
awesome.
Watching this show, sorry about that. Omar lagged out of the stream, and be sure to go follow him on Twitter at Omar Kelly. It's just his name at OMARKELLY at Omar Kelly for all of the insight on those Dolphins, on those foes, the Dolphins. And hey, we're 45 minutes in. I think it's time we get a little bold. I think we get some bold predictions on the board. I think we got some scores to be settled here with these 2 fellows on my live on the screen with you guys. So I'll let them settle their business, and then I'll give my minuscule predictions compared to theirs.
Oh boy, here we go. I'm gonna get hammered with a machete. No, I see. Here's the biggest thing about it with Muki. We had a lot of fun last week, and we're gonna bring up obviously what happened, what the result was of our predictions and whatnot. But I was like, I go into games and I watch games, and we study games as Bills fans and whatnot. I have no control over what the players do. So for me to take credit for anything that I may have said or not said or that happened that didn't happen, it's kind of just silly to me. The fact that it did come to fruition, okay, it's pretty funny. But I predicted last week that Diggs would have around 80 yards, and then Muki wanted to he wanted to throw me out of a moving vehicle, but he ended up having 8 for 86. And I just went on the fact of shortened training camp, no preseason. This offense is it's not a very simple offense, even though he's played in a bunch of offenses. The timing and the adjustments of a lot of things we're going to get down. I expect him to have a lot more yards later in the year. Obviously, I agree with Muki on that point, but in that game, that's what I thought. It was just luck that it came through. So.
Yeah, I mean, hey, shit, that's just like hitting the lottery, right? Many times if you predicted, you're finally right. That could be the lottery too, right? What are the odds, right? So, hey, good job. Way to put that out there like that and be accurate, So, that was pretty good stuff. But then, did you see what I asked Stephon Diggs? I'm like, dude, like, it seemed like you was being chaperoned out there. Anyway, like, for him to be targeted 9 times and to catch 8 passes is still phenomenal, and everything was pretty much underneath until they seen, they hooked up on that deep drag across the middle.
Yes.
So eventually they're finding ways to find that one-on-one matchup. And Miami Dolphins, like we said, they're going to be manned up a lot. So hopefully they can dial that up And I mean, it was like I said, I asked him, I was like, dude, it seemed like you was a gunner on special teams the way they was checking you on one play. I saw the two dudes were standing in front of me, and Dawson was wide open in the end zone. That's two guys that Josh Allen missed in the end zone, by the way, guys. And so, we talk about that. There's still 70%. So just imagine if he would have connected on those two passes.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was throwing 70%, only throwing 18, 19 passes. This guy threw 46 passes in the game and completed 72% of them. But it unfortunately is going to be a stark contrast to my bold prediction for this week for Josh Allen, unfortunately. And Muki, please don't come out of the screen and get me. I'm just saying, I think Allen this week, my bold prediction is that he just eclipses a 200-yard mark in passing this week. I don't think he goes too much more over 200, maybe 202, 205, and he's getting. I'm out.
That's a steak knife. That's nothing.
He's got the Gabriel. I got the Gabriel Davis 40. I'll get out of here.
We got Russell's today.
But yeah, I see them probably taking a similar approach to what New England did, trying to see if they can pound the rock. We know in the two meetings that they had last year, Singletary and Gore, I mean, the first matchup, they only managed 71 yards. The second matchup, they managed 102. So they still have to try to figure things out, even with this line. The line's going to be solid all year, barring injury. So I see more of a flip of, listen, we threw 46 times last game. We're going to run the ball 46 times this game. And I think they're going to try to get that established early and try to expose some of the weaknesses of that Miami defense.
Yeah, I think they're going to establish the run. That was some of the questions I had to ask this week going into this week. Like, I know that Sunday was a Josh Allen day. If anybody you want the rust to get off, first person to mind, you definitely want to get that out of the way with your quarterback. So, week one was all about Josh Allen and him getting acclimated to game day speed, in the actual game, doing things. And he passed the test. And, some things that we saw was, hey, my man, Joshy Boucher, when you see those fumbles, that's Joshy Boucher, right? That's what we getting right here, That's just what it is, Joshy Boucher. So we gotta limit those Joshy Boucher moments and be a little bit more efficient. But, hey, it's week one. It was good to see him just make certain reads. And you can see how certain areas of the game where it has slowed down to him, So, I'm really excited to see Josh Allen go up against, quote unquote, two of the best corners in the NFL. That's another intriguing matchup. You have on the flip side our two Florida running backs. Listen, man, Zach Moss' mama gonna be at the game, so I'm quite sure he's gonna tote that rock. All right, so I know there's some plans in place to get that run game going for both running backs. I mean, more or less, Devin Singletary probably in the passing game, Zach Moss in the run game. So we can have that balance. I think Josh Allen probably don't have to throw 45 times this week due to that fact that you just said, Mario. But I think he still be efficient. Like he can be anywhere between 25 and 32, some shit like that. I mean, very efficient and still, have, over 270 some yards, close to 300 still. And, our running backs can rack off some big numbers. Who knows? Seven Singletary might have a big day in the passing game because, those guys playing man a lot. They're going to be playing man. So that means if we go empty, or we go 4 wide, their middle linebacker has to account for Devin Singletary. They just traded Raekwon McMillan, so I don't know who's even in the middle right now. Who's responsible for that running back coming out on the flats? And in hindsight, the Bills ran more screens last week than they did all season last year.
That's true.
No,
I want to see some consistency. Like I want to see what they ran last week this week. Because we don't have no signature, no bread and butter plays with them. But I think it's going to be a tough matchup just because it's a division opponent, and it's going to be some ups and downs, like they had in that Jets game, and but I think we come out. I think they get a little bit more comfortable in the tempo. Don't change the tempo. To come out in the third quarter with a 21-point lead, to go in a different personnel group and go back out there, reestablish that rhythm, jump back up and put another 21 out there. You know what I mean? The quicker you put that 21 out there, you should be able to do it again. You know what I mean? Just so get right back out there and do it. Now you got 40 points before the fourth quarter. 35 points, a game over with. McDermott's over here with his Gatorade, chilling.
That's it. That's a normal staple for any type of a New England offense that I've seen many a times, is the fact that what they'll do is they'll get a lead. If they end up getting a big lead, what they'll do is they'll just run plays that defensive coordinators the following week will have to go. You know what I mean? They'll pick a couple plays out of the playbook and say, okay, let's run this. Maybe we'll run a wildcat or something like that. Just something so if a coordinator has to plan for that type of defense. And then what happens is, they may not run it, they may never run it. So it takes away from the preparation of the bread and butter plays that you're talking about for the Bills. I would like to see them have a vast array of plays, even running this game against Miami, where they're like, wait a minute, they did this week, they did this week. Then week 3, what are you preparing for? Now you have this litany of 2 games with a bunch of different plays that the Buffalo Bills were successful in running. What's going to happen now? What do you plan for? So I could see them doing a game by game approach, even though I do love the fact of keep it up tempo. Definitely keep it up tempo. When Josh Allen last year, when Dable ended up going up to the box and he was calling plays and Allen had the up tempo and he was pretty much snapping the ball at 15 seconds, which we all know that's when the thing goes off in the quarterback's helmet. He was basically coaching Allen. I'm assuming he was coaching Allen through the play, through the reads, because they had their formation out there already. Mm-hmm. So it's good to see that up tempo, and I mean, a win's a win in the NFL. So if they end up getting the W, doing the same things that they did last week, I'm not going to be mad about it. So
now, Mario said a very interesting thing that's always been on my mind with Brian Dable, and I've never brought it up simply due to the fact that I'm not sure how practical of I don't even know if you call it a theory, but I'm not sure how practical of a solution or answer it may be. Because when you talk about Brian Dable and you talk about his offense's examples and his tendencies, there are a few questionable things, and there are, not to mention, a few concerning things with Brian Dable and his tendencies as a coach. But one of those tendencies that I pick up on is that you don't really know what to expect on a weekly basis, given the Bills' play calling. You don't know if they're going to come with a balanced approach or an approach such as we saw last week where Josh Allen's throwing it 46 times a game. And we saw games last season where the Bills weren't trailing by a tremendous amount of points, no more than 2 possessions, where Josh Allen comes out of that game with 40-some-odd passes, and Frank Gore and Devin Singletary came away with less than 15 carries. So, and then there's other games where we see a very balanced approach, where we see the whole offense moving with great consistency, whether it's a running game, the passing game. Everyone's getting love for this offense. And that really plays into the whole question mark. I've talked to Muki about this. I've talked to Jeremy about this. And I've talked to you, Mario, about this, is the lack of identity, the lack of bread and butter, the lack of when we need a play, this is our play. I feel like that Brian Dable trying to have a vast array of plays at his disposal and having multiple facets and multiple dimensions of this offense running efficiently all at once, if not picking one side for each game or whatever it may be, depending on the opponent, that is a very intriguing aspect of his offense. But then again, I feel like that aspect, the complication of that aspect, is what can sometimes make this offense dwindle, make this offense stagnant, make it almost non-existent, when he doesn't have that bread and butter to go back to every time whatever it is that doesn't work. He doesn't have that fallback plan. And really what I'm getting at is I want to hear from both of you. I kind of talked to Mario about this, and I kind of heard Muki's thoughts on another podcast. But now that I have both of you on the screen, I know you and I, or all of us, have kind of similar thoughts to this. Running the quarterback, running Josh Allen, 12 carries in that first half. We talk about Joshy Boucher fumbling it twice. The first one, he dropped it. He straight up dropped it. He should not have dropped that ball. The second one, I don't think he should have been put in that situation. I don't think he should have had the ball in his hands as a runner, period, on that play up 21-0 going into the second half. Muki, I want to hear what you think about running your quarterback, doing it so much last week to the point where it's just like, man, Josh Allen's taking a lot of hits for a team that's up 21-3 at half. Muki, what were your thoughts on the play calling on Josh Allen just seemingly being used as almost, I wouldn't say exclusively as a runner now, obviously. He threw for 70% and 300 yards. Don't get me wrong. It was the most efficient passing day for a Bills offense in what 7-8 years. But
Yeah,
12 carries in the first half, that's not to my liking. And he's no Lamar Jackson who's going to avoid all those hits. He's 6'6", 250 pounds. He's going to take all of those hits. He's going to fight for all of the yardage. So, Muki, what are your thoughts on them using Josh Allen as a runner? I wouldn't say throughout the whole season, but consistently using him game to game as a runner. Do you think that hurts his longevity? Do you think that hurts his durability? And do you think it ultimately possibly hurts the Bills' chances of long-term success with him at the helm at quarterback?
I don't think it hurt, but you got to put a cap on it. You know, you got to put a cap on it. You got to know how to run him. He's no Lamar Jackson, but he's a load when he gets going. And, you know, you got to know how to run. You can't run Josh laterally. You can't try to run him to get around a corner. Bootlegs are fine, but you can't run him on those 17 sweep. When you see when they did that fake jet sweep and he kept it, he didn't know how to square up. A guy like Lamar Jackson is going to square that guy up and get a little bit more shifty. Josh Allen isn't shifty when it comes to that. So you gotta run him on like more design draws where he can just take a couple of steps back and just go forward, you know, just release and go forward. Trying to get around the edge, that's not his strong suit. So I would run a little bit more delayed draws. The RPO that was happening, you know, for everybody to look at that crazy number of carries, I just think that they were just getting the rust gone. You know what I mean? I think Josh should have, in times, he should have gave the ball to the running back instead of keeping it, and, you know, vice versa. You know, times where he gave it to the back where he should have pulled out and, you know, look elsewhere with it. So just getting those few kinks ironed out in the game situation, that's when, you know, I processed it after the fact, like, okay, you got to do that, but Josh got to be a little bit more sharper on those reads and running the ball, and then be mindful, you know, when running the ball to protect the football, you know. So those learning curves that you got to learn, you know, going in, like I said, there's no OTAs, there's no preseason, you know, so you got to do it. You got to do it in game reps. But that's part of his game, using his legs, but we have to be a little bit more smart. Get a little bit more creative on how to use them to where he avoid taking hits. You know, make sure when you run him, he's getting strictly 7 yards, running out of bounds, first down. You know what I mean? That's it. But him running the 17 at midfield, thinking he's going to turn the corner and his linebackers and safety still there, it's not going to work. He's not going to elude nobody one-on-one. He's not going to beat nobody one-on-one that way.
Mario?
Yeah, my overall philosophy with running quarterbacks is that if they want to enjoy any type of longevity, you can't run them the way that you run them. Like I've often said on #sports, and I'm willing to stick by this. If Lamar Jackson keeps the pattern that he's developed in his short NFL career, he may not see a second contract in Baltimore, because, you know, one of these days you expose your quarterback that much, it's not going to bode well for him one of these days. And I know he's 1,000 times more elusive than Allen, and Allen's just, you know, Boucher. That's the funniest nickname you could have given him. But in that respect, though, I think this could have been part of the long-term plan for Josh. Now you think about it, every other team saw that game. Every other team that has to play the Buffalo Bills saw that game today. Okay, what better way to try to open up passing lanes for Josh Allen than to, okay, listen, this first game, we're going to put it all on the line. We're going to have Allen run this many times. You know, he could have just as easily handed it off a bunch of those times that he didn't, but he ran it. So he ran the ball 12 times the first half. I think he run 14 with the kneel downs or whatever. But point being is this: if you want to try to play a little sleight of hand where teams going to have to plan for Josh's legs more than his arm, and one way that you can open up passing lanes for him is to try to have teams that are more worried about his legs than his arm, then that's one way that you can do it. If that's the short-term goal for Brian Daboll in this offense, to try to say, okay, we're going to run them early and often, and then other teams are going to try to adjust to that. So that takes away from them adjusting to Diggs, Brown, and Beasley and Knox. So, okay, maybe that'll level off throughout, you know, the days, because we saw it last year. Allen was running a lot, but it wasn't design runs. What we saw, I think what bothered Clayton a little bit, was the fact that those were designed runs. I mean, you're up 21 and you run him on that power sweep. That I don't get that. To me, that's like a little league game where a team is up 10 runs and you're still stealing second. Like, why? Why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. So in that respect, I don't think for a quarterback's longevity, you should put him in harm's way that much. But I do understand the evolution of the NFL and how it is right now. And you look at the majority of the quarterbacks that are coming in and or in the NFL right now, the ones that aren't, I mean, the days of Peyton Manning guys are kind of gone. So you got to have a guy that could just make enough plays with his feet as well as his arm.
Now, here's the thing with me, and I'm not sure if it was misunderstanding, lack of reading comprehension, lack of paying attention to what fellow people that want to discuss have to say, what have you. My issue has never been Josh Allen's mobility, because you know what? If someone told me that if Josh Allen stood in that pocket and he couldn't move, he'd be the same quarterback, I think they're an idiot. And I never said that. I never said Josh Allen shouldn't be running. I never said they shouldn't be using his athleticism to his advantage, because let's not get it wrong. Josh Allen's athleticism is his best asset as a football player. You talk about the mobility, you talk about the things he can create, his improvisation, what he can do as a runner. Mario touched on it specifically. The design quarterback runs, yes, I do have a problem with those. Simply because Josh Allen is at his best as a runner when he's just being a football player. When he's in the backyard making dudes miss, swimming over defensive tackles. I saw him do that again last week. That was awesome. You guys see that? When he just went right, right over. That's gotta love that. But anyways, my issue was never Josh Allen running the ball in general. I love Josh Allen running the ball, because when Josh Allen's running the ball, the sticks are moving. That oftentimes is the case. My issue is the fact that some people, the data might not indicate that running your quarterback doesn't hurt his longevity. Oh, the quarterbacks, they don't get hurt just as much if they stay in the pocket. No, well, there's quarterbacks that exist out there where that's not so much the case. There may not be a lot of data to show in the short term that it doesn't work, but there sure as hell is a lot of data to indicate that it doesn't work in the long term. Andrew Luck could have rings on his fingers right now if his injuries didn't add up and he went on the league with lacerated kidneys and what have you. RG3, whatever happened to him? We all say that mobility does not bite you until it does. Mario just said right here on the show that if Lamar Jackson keeps up at this rate, he won't see a second contract, or he sure as hell won't get paid just as much as he would if he did. If injuries add up, if things add up, we don't know what's going to happen in the league. I'm not saying you should coach afraid. I'm not saying that when you send Josh Allen out there that you should coach afraid and be, oh, we can't run Josh. What if he gets hurt? Well, I can tell you this. If Josh Allen gets hurt, then the Bills' season has gone to shit, because Matt Barkley is not taking you to a Super Bowl. Because let's make no mistake about it. That is the pinnacle. That is the true goal. It's not about, oh, let's just make the playoffs. Let's keep asses in seats. Let's give them something to hope for next season. Let's just get a home playoff game. No, bump all that. It's not about that. It's about winning Super Bowls. And I understand that a lot of people haven't had that mindset forever, because that's how long it's been since they should have had that mindset forever. But it's realistic at this point. However, it's nowhere near as realistic if Josh Allen goes down. That's not happening. Matt Barkley isn't going to come in here like Nick Foles and take the Bills on some Cinderella run in the playoffs. That's not happening. You need Josh Allen for 19 games this season. You need a plan to have Josh Allen for 19 games this season. COVID, injuries, whatever happens throughout the course of the season, whatever. That is the basis for your plan. Have Josh Allen ready to play 19 games this season, then we'll go forward. So how about we don't carry the ball 14 times a game with our quarterback on however 8 design runs? Because I can tell you right now, Josh Allen's going to keep it 7 times himself a game, almost at least. Whether it's his scampers to get first downs, whether it's his scampers to score for touchdowns, he's going to keep it 7 times a game himself. You don't need to design nothing for him. You do not need to design for that dude. He is the best when he's a football player. I think everybody can tell that from his first season. Because when that dude's out there, he just goes out there and plays football. So how about we let Josh Allen do a little bit more of that and use those 2 third-round drafted running backs that your general manager allocated assets to. How about we use those guys to run 14, 20 times a game and let Josh Allen stand back there picking defenses apart at a 72% clip? That I'm perfectly okay with.
Mookie, you need your lighter. Go get your lighter back out again, because this dude's on fire. This dude is on fire
right now.
He knows what it is.
That was awesome. Yeah, I mean, just the natural progression of Allen and in his development, in making reads or missing reads, he's going to end up having to tuck it and run it anyway. So if you're planning on throwing the ball 30 times a game, maybe there's 4 or 5 instances where he's got to tuck it and run, and that's where he clearly, as Clayton said, is at his best. Okay, you want to play man coverage on Allen? Okay. You want to turn your back to Josh Allen? Go ahead. Okay, you want to play zone? He'll find the zones eventually. But if you end up covering, if you want to throw Allen 30 times a game, he's going to run it 5 times because of just late reads and what breakdowns and whatever happens. You don't need to have those designed runs in there because he's just going to do it naturally as a player. And I agree 110% with Clayton. What are you saying?
Now they ran RPO more out of a pistol style offense. I think this week you're going to see more 3 receiver sets with both Motor Singletary and Zach Moss out there. And I think that's a better formation for Josh to run RPO in. So, hopefully we'll see that. If we see 3 receivers with those 2 out there, and then, man, like I said, those 5 deadly venoms, they're going to appear one of these weeks. And 5 deadly venoms is going to appear. That's the way you should need to run Josh out of RPO. That way, it's more easier decision for him. It's an easier read, I believe, with having both of those guys, because now you got both of the linebackers have to account for Zach keeping it or one of the other keeping it, and then another guy still at your disposal. If you want to run option with that guy, you can. A quarterback can keep it. So it's a lot of things that you can do. So I'm quite sure that Brian Dable still, he has a lot of tricks. He has a lot of formation. And like you said, Mario, he's just running stuff. But me as a coordinator, I like to have formations that one play sets up the other play. I want to get in this I formation. I want to run ISO with Zach Moss. Okay, and then I want to fake that ISO, come counter back with Singletary, or fake both of that, hit my tight end down the seam, or fake that ISO one-on-one. Everyone can watch, and I wanted one play to set up the other. What are we setting up? I just don't want to keep calling plays and running plays, and then when we get in a tight situation, we don't have no bread and butter play to go to. We still, guess what? Calling plays. We can't have that. This is the NFL, man. You got to make sure you have something to set up. What's the element of surprise on third down? What can I get this 7 yards automatically every time I get in this formation with them? How am I manipulating the edge? So those are some of the things that me as an offensive coordinator, I want to pick up right away, because if the game's on the line, guess what? I know what alignment to do to manipulate those 4 yards to make sure my team gets that first down. I know what alignment to be as far as, whether 10 personnel, 11 personnel, where I can stretch put a linebacker in the bind and get 10 yards in the passing game, based upon the coverage that, based upon my offensive formation is going to make your defense play in this scheme. All right. So that means when my offense is dictating the terms, I can run anything I want on third down, because, I know certain plays that I've set up to make sure that those plays will be wide open. I want to see that. It was good to see Josh put together a great drive, and then to cap it off with that nice audible. That was probably like the best offensive drive of the game right there. To cap that off with a great read by Josh, that was awesome. I want to see more of that tomorrow.
All right. So we've been on here for a little bit, and we have yet to make a bold prediction. So we were feeling really bold last week. I feel like there was a lot of flexing going on. There was a lot of flexing going on with bold predictions. So I feel like mine, I wouldn't say underwhelming, but it's not nearly as exciting as some of the really wrong predictions I gave last week. So I'm going to say bold prediction of the week, Dawson Knox goes over 120 yards receiving. Think about it. You got those 2 guys on the outside, Brown and Diggs. Hey, that open in the middle of the field for it's either going to be Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox, I really want to see him get involved in this offense. We didn't really see him last week like Muki talked about. It was more of Josh this week. Let's get the rust off of Allen. We saw him make one heck of a catch on what was a little bit of an illegal hit by that Greg Williams defense. But I want to see Dawson Knox get active early and often in this game. I want to see him be the focal point of this offense. I feel like if that's the case, I feel like that's what's going to be best for this Bills offense. Obviously, I want to see them run the ball with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. I think if you get your running game going early and establish play action, that's another thing that I was really confused about last week. The Bills ran play action, and they ran it efficiently, but they weren't running the ball at all, which really didn't make sense as to how much they were running play action. Because if you're trying to set up play action, you would think that you would be running the ball early in the game. I digress. But here's the thing. Dawson Knox, over 120 receiving yards. I think he's the best. He has the biggest mismatch on the field because I really don't know who they're going to match up with him. I can't name one guy out there that's going to be able to run step to step with Dawson Knox up the seam in the middle of that field while they're obviously going to be extremely occupied with Stephon Diggs and John Brown along the exterior. You guys have anything outlandish, crazy you want to say?
I'll let Muki go first. I want to hear this.
Bold prediction. I'm going to say, with Milano and Edwards being out, that defensive line has to step up. Them have to step up big time. And I think Ed Oliver has a breakout game. I think he has a 2-sack game. Come through when in the needed time. For that defense. So I'm gonna go out and say Ed Oliver. It shouldn't take him that long. I know his first sack came last year in Miami, but it wasn't the quarterback either. But so hopefully he can duplicate that this week. So Ed Oliver, 2 sacks.
Interesting. I'm going to take a completely different slant on this. I'm not going to talk about the Bills. I'm going to talk about the Dolphins. I'm going to say that Ryan Fitzpatrick throws for 3 Bills this week on that Buffalo Bills defense. Throws for 300 yards on that Bills defense this week. Yep. That's my bold bad boy, and I'm sticking to it.
Dude, you're trying to piss people off. I just watched 6 people get off the stream. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody.
It's not. It's not to ruffle feathers, but I mean, you go on in history, you go on the relationship that Gailey and him had, and you look at that middle is going to be exposed, whether we like it or not. That middle is going to be exposed, even though they have guys there that I think can do the job. We got Klein, you got Dawson, and they're going to rotate a bunch of safeties in as well. But I just think that, and you know what, 300 yards. We got to remember this as Bills fans. It's not that big a deal, especially if you're losing by 21 points, because you're going to be throwing all the time anyway.
Right.
So in that instance, I'm trying to hedge my bets a little bit, because I think the Fizz is going to throw for 300 against the Bills.
Say he's going to have a garbage tray out there.
He may have a garbage tray. He will have a garbage tray.
Garbage tray. All right. Yeah.
He'll have a $190 by the end of the third quarter, and then he'll be.
That could easily happen because the more strong suits he to more or less like to throw seams with the tight ends, post routes with the receivers, maybe some in cut with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going. I don't think you're going to really see too many outs from Fitzpatrick. In cuts, post, seam routes, bombs. Those are more or less some of his strong suits. To fit them in there in those tight windows. So we got to be able to be prepared, for those situations, and those guys got to come up covering. I don't know if the Bills are going to play a little bit more aggressive. How they, it surprised me last week how aggressive they played with blitzing a lot last week. So I don't think they're going to blitz too much. They're going to stay within their scheme this week, a little bit more zone, and rely on that defensive front to cause havoc. And, the rest of the guys just go ahead and make tackles. They got to go out there and tackle open space. So, it's going to be really exciting, man. I'm just happy, that football is here on a week-to-week basis, And we got something to look for each and every week right now, So, hey, in the books right now, man, job well done, we got a guy, Big O, repping Miami Dolphins, giving a lot of praise, giving it up a little bit right there, and, being accountable for his hatred back in the days and stuff like that. So, another good show, man. Good job, guys. And we'll see those bold predictions.
I want to know, Muki, who you got winning the game? I think you're a little high on the Dolphins going in this one. I think who you got winning this?
I got the Bills winning. But it might, with the linebackers being out, I kind of took some points away. I think kind of took some points away. So I know I was going around saying I think 32-17. So just take one score away. 26-17 Bills.
Mark?
Yeah, I think I said on the hashtag show that we did, I think I said 21-17 Buffalo, and I think it's going to be a little bit of tougher road for them. I don't think it's going to be a walkthrough or a scrimmage. I think it's going to actually be a pretty competitive game for at least 3 quarters, and then Buffalo takes it over in the fourth.
Now, before I get my prediction, I'm going to say the one thing I really want to see this week more than anything, more than any statistic, more than I wouldn't say the Bills winning. I'd say it's 1B to the Bills winning. And I'll be quite honest with you, I want to see 4 quarters of solid coaching. I want to see 4 quarters of solid offense. I think, honestly, that I've been waiting for that for 3 years. But I'm waiting for it with this group because this is the best personnel grouping that I've seen on the Bills my whole life. For 20 years, this is the best personnel that the Bills offensive coordinator has at their disposal. And there's no excuse that you shouldn't be able to produce with that personnel for 4 solid quarters. And I'm not sure if this score prediction is going to come from 4 solid quarters of offense or if it's going to come from, 21 in the first and 6 in the second. So I guess we'll see. I'm saying Bills are going to win this one 27-10. I'm going to stay consistent. That's exactly what I said on Mario's show the other night. So 27-10 Bills. Hey, Muki, Mario, any parting words? Anything you want to plug over there for the hashtag nation before we get on out of here?
Just that hashtag, we're going to be doing our post game, our live post game around 5:30, 6 o'clock. So if anyone on hashtag, you want to go over to hashtag nation and join up, Paul and I will have our post game there, and we're going to be having our Thursday roundtable next week. Once again, hopefully Clayton will join us, and hopefully my predictions come pretty well this week. I'll get invited back on the Saturday tailgate again. So we'll see how that goes.
Muki?
Yeah, y'all can catch me for post game with exclusive interviews with players, coaches on both teams tomorrow on my radio show, Waffle Sports Report on Power 96.5 on Waffle 1080 AM, 6 o'clock through 7. We'll break down the Bills as well. So, you're more than welcome to give us a call.
Hey, thank you all for watching this show tonight. We've been holding a lot of people here steady for the whole show. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank you all for giving us your evening to watch the show. It's a little late. I know, it's a Saturday night. A lot of you guys don't have anything better to do, staying inside. I can't go to the bars or nothing. But with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to follow the Cold Front Report on Twitter, Instagram. And if you haven't already, this is the first time you've come across any Cold Front show, be sure to smash that like button on the Facebook page, Cold Front Report, Buffalo Bills News. We've already eclipsed 13,000 members. We'll be going live tomorrow for our post-game show. As soon as you get done with Mario's and you fill your stomach with your dinner, whatever it may be, pizza, wings, what have you, come tune over to our show around 8, 9 o'clock. We'll announce it sometime tomorrow, but it'll be with myself, Jeremy Terry Montgomery, and Fred Kilmartin. Follow Cold Front Report on Instagram at Cold Front Report _Bills News, and Twitter, it'll be at Cold Front Report. Guys, great show. Mario, Muki, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you all for watching. And hey, we'll see you next week, and go Bills.